confidence in Catherine and William. Their judgment is sound, their loyalty unquestioned.
Behind a sealed palace door, King Charles pressed his pen against a document that would quietly reshape the future of the British monarchy. No cameras captured the moment. No crowd waited outside. No televised address followed. There was only a pen, a constitutional file, and a decision about Prince William that could no longer be postponed. By the time word reached the public, Britain was already staring at a royal future that suddenly felt uncomfortably close. Before the full story can be told, the scene inside that room needs to be understood, because what happened there was unlike any royal meeting in recent memory. King Charles knew what was coming. Senior courtiers were summoned to Buckingham Palace, ordered to surrender their phones, and guided into a restricted chamber. The king arrived carrying a folder stamped with the words, "Sovereign access only, material reserved exclusively for the monarch and a handful of cleared advisors." Prince William was not in the room. The silence thickened. The monarch opened the folder and paused at his son's name. Inside lay the Royal Continuity Declaration, a formal document confirming Prince William as the future king and authorizing the gradual transfer of sovereign responsibilities whenever the crown judged it necessary. This was not ceremonial language written to be framed on a wall. It created a functioning path toward power, with a schedule, access levels, and a mechanism that could accelerate the moment circumstances demanded it. King Charles gripped the pen. Signing would protect the institution from confusion, but it would also push his eldest son toward a burden no father could soften. For several seconds, he did nothing. Then he wrote his name. Prince William felt the shift before anyone explained it. A discreet message reached him asking him to return to Windsor immediately. No explanation given, no details offered. Catherine, Princess of Wales, watched her husband's expression change the moment he read it. She asked what was wrong. The prince answered quietly, "Something has happened." He folded the message and left without answers. The declaration carried a confidential schedule outlining which briefings, state papers, and constitutional responsibilities would begin moving toward the future king. Only a small circle could view the timetable. One senior courtier left the room visibly shaken. In a recorded internal account, he warned a colleague that the document was not symbolic. King Charles had built a mechanism capable of accelerating Prince William's transition without any public announcement whatsoever. As Prince William's car approached Windsor, he had no way of knowing whether his father had secured his future, shortened his preparation time, or quietly acknowledged something the palace had been refusing to say out loud. But before he could understand what the signature meant for the crown, he had to confront what it meant for the father who had signed it. To the public, Prince William has always been the patient heir, steady, composed, waiting. Inside the family, the truth is far more painful. Every step that carries the prince closer to the throne also carries him closer to the moment when King Charles can no longer occupy it. The secret declaration did not simply confirm a succession. It forced two men, who loved each other as family, to face the full machinery of monarchy without looking away. Prince William entered the private sitting room at Windsor and stopped almost immediately. King Charles was standing beside the fireplace, not seated behind a desk. That single detail told the prince everything. This was not an ordinary briefing. King Charles had spent the majority of his life preparing for the throne, wading through decades of public duty, intense scrutiny, and quiet uncertainty. That long preparation had taught him one brutal lesson. The monarchy survives only when the next step has already been secured before danger arrives. The king gestured toward the chair opposite him. Prince William remained standing. The Prince of Wales, the title given to the sovereign's direct heir, was already carrying the weight of public duty, family responsibility, and the knowledge that Prince George would one day inherit the same burden. Catherine, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis gave him a life beyond the crown. But the signed declaration had now dragged that distant future into the present. The monarch chose his words carefully. He told his son that preparation was not a prediction of tragedy, it was protection. But his voice faltered before the final word, and Prince William heard exactly what his father could not say. The hesitation made the reassurance feel hollow. Prince William finally sat and opened the folder. King Charles had given him only the first pages. Several annexes remained sealed, including one detailing the precise conditions under which the future king could receive expanded authority before formally becoming sovereign. An annex, in this context, was an added section containing private instructions considered too sensitive for the main document. The prince looked toward his father. The king offered only this. Some truths had to be absorbed in stages. Catherine found Prince William later, alone, motionless, the folder still closed beside him. She sat near him and waited. He admitted quietly that he was not frightened of becoming king. He was frightened of the loss that had to come before it. She reached for his hand, and he held on longer than usual. King Charles carried the same fear in a different room, expressed not through confession, but through control. He believed he had protected his son. Prince William felt he had been pushed closer to an ending neither of them could name. To understand why King Charles finally acted, the story must return to the exact moment when hesitation became more dangerous than decision. The Royal Continuity Declaration was not born from tradition, ambition, or palace theater. It began with one ceremony that nearly collapsed behind the scenes. The Commonwealth Service at Westminster Abbey, the annual gathering bringing together representatives from nations linked through shared history and cooperation, had been planned down to the minute. Royal schedules, security teams, government officials, and constitutional advisors all operated within a strict chain of command. One missed instruction during a national event could create confusion far beyond palace walls. Prince William had taken on more public duties, but the deepest powers remained concentrated around King Charles. The prince could represent the monarchy before thousands, comfort families, and speak on behalf of the crown. Yet emergency communications still reached only the sovereign and his narrow circle of advisors. That gap had always existed. On that day, it became dangerous. An urgent state communication arrived while King Charles was temporarily unavailable. Officials needed an immediate response, but no signed authority allowed Prince William to read the complete message or issue any reply. The future king stood inside a private antechamber as aides argued beyond the door. He heard fragments of the dispute and felt anger rising. He was the heir. The system was treating him as a spectator at the exact moment leadership was required. One advisor suggested giving him a shortened summary. Another refused, warning that even showing the prince the full document without authorization could break protocol. Minutes passed. Nothing moved. King Charles returned and immediately sensed the damage. An aide informed him the delay had lasted 11 minutes. The king closed the briefing folder, dismissed everyone except his son, and remained silent until the door shut. Then he apologized. Prince William had been expected to carry royal responsibility in public while being denied the authority to act in private. That evening, King Charles summoned the Cabinet Office Liaison and Palace Constitutional Advisors. He ordered them to draft a continuity instrument, a formal mechanism allowing duties and information to pass safely during disruption. The first version arrived cautiously worded. King Charles rejected it. He demanded stronger language, wider access, and a plan capable of functioning before another crisis exposed the same weakness. Prince William did not thank his father for securing his future. He demanded to know why the decision had been made in secrecy. Inside a locked room at Windsor, no courtiers, no advisors, no family present, the future king placed the declaration on the table between them. King Charles had expected concern. He had not expected anger. What followed was not a constitutional discussion. It was the collision of two men confronting loss, responsibility, and truths neither could soften. Prince William had spent his adult life accepting that the throne would eventually become his. He had never asked to escape that destiny. But he believed any meaningful transition should involve him, not arrive as a completed decision. The declaration had turned preparation into action. It changed what he could read, which meetings he could lead, and how quickly power could move toward him. King Charles saw secrecy differently. He feared that open planning would be twisted into claims that he was preparing to abdicate or could no longer continue. Yet Prince William heard only another truth. His father had made the most important decision of his life without him. The prince pushed his chair back. He placed the pages directly before King Charles and held his gaze. "Did you sign this because the institution needs me, or because you believe you may not be able to continue?" King Charles responded at once. He insisted that kings could not wait for disaster before protecting succession, the legal passage of the crown from one monarch to the next. Uncertainty around it could shake the government as well as the family. Prince William answered that fathers should not hide choices that permanently change their sons' lives. The room fell silent. King Charles finally admitted that Westminster had frightened him. For 11 minutes, he had imagined the monarchy trapped between an unavailable sovereign and an heir forbidden to act. He had seen confusion spreading while Prince William stood ready but powerless. He could not allow that weakness to survive. Prince William opened the sealed pages and discovered how far the plan had already gone. The declaration granted him access to classified sovereign briefings and authorized him to chair selected state meetings whenever King Charles approved. The transfer was no longer theoretical. It had begun. King Charles then delivered the final disclosure. He had not designed the strongest provisions alone. Someone inside the royal structure had pressed him to go further, warning that affection could not be allowed to weaken preparation. Princess and had studied the Westminster failure in silence. The Lord Chamberlain, the senior official responsible for coordinating the royal household, had already ordered a full review alongside constitutional advisors. Their findings were direct. The system had protected procedure, but it had nearly failed the monarchy. Princess and entered King Charles's private office carrying a written timeline of the 11-minute delay. She placed it on his desk and told him that loyalty to Prince William required more than shielding him from fear. It required preparing him completely. The king asked whether she believed his instincts as a father had weakened his judgment as sovereign. Princess Anne did not raise her voice. She pointed to the timeline and reminded him that affection becomes dangerous when it prevents the heir from receiving what he needs to act. The king pushed the paper away. She moved it back. Princess Anne had supported the declaration's strongest clause. Whenever national continuity was at risk, Prince William must receive the same emergency briefing as the sovereign. She refused to soften that demand, even when King Charles accused her of forcing the future too close. Queen consort Camilla found the king alone later, still holding the timeline. She recognized the strain immediately and asked what Princess Anne had said. After listening, she asked the question he had been avoiding. Was he preparing Prince William for the crown, or preparing himself to release control? King Charles did not answer immediately. Camilla understood his fear, but she also understood Princess Anne's warning. The strongest provision remained. Prince William would now stand closer to the center of power, and everyone inside the household would feel it. The declaration was never publicly announced. Yet the palace began behaving as though an announcement had already been made. Prince William's private office received new security clearance almost overnight. Constitutional correspondence arrived in full rather than as shortened summaries. Daily state reports once filtered through senior advisors were placed directly before him. The changes were described as administrative modernization. Experienced courtiers understood the truth. The household was rehearsing a transition while pretending nothing fundamental had changed. Queen consort Camilla entered a scheduled briefing and stopped. Prince William was already seated beside King Charles, an identical classified folder resting before each man. She recovered quickly and took her chair, but the pause had been noticed. For years, those meetings had been shaped entirely around the king's authority. Now the prince was no longer attending merely to observe. He was being positioned to respond. King Charles saw her reaction but continued speaking. He asked Prince William for his assessment before turning to anyone else. Several officials immediately looked toward the future king. Camilla felt pride in the prince's composure, yet beneath it, a quiet unease tightened. Every official who looked toward his son seemed to confirm that the old balance had already begun to shift. Prince William carried that pressure home long after midnight. Catherine watched him enter with a locked red box in his hand, a secure case used to carry confidential state papers for senior royal figures. She waited until he set it down, then asked what had kept him so late. He admitted he had spent hours reviewing decisions capable of affecting millions of lives. He had imagined authority as duty. He had not expected its loneliness. Catherine reminded him that responsibility did not require emotional isolation. But she saw, clearly, how deeply the new access had changed him. For days, King Charles and Prince William had spoken through documents, titles, and carefully controlled language. Then Prince William removed every institutional barrier. He requested a private walk, no aides, no folders, no prepared remarks. What happened during that conversation changed the meaning of the declaration entirely. Prince William knew resistance could not change his destiny. The crown would eventually become his, and anger would not alter that truth. His real choice was whether he entered the next stage feeling trapped and isolated, or prepared and emotionally honest. King Charles had reached a painful understanding of his own. Years of royal discipline had taught him to hide uncertainty. But that silence had made preparation look like a warning rather than an act of trust. Prince William walked beside his father through the Windsor grounds and allowed the silence to settle. Then he asked, what had King Charles felt when Queen Elizabeth II began preparing him for kingship? King Charles stopped walking. He admitted that guilt had followed every lesson his mother gave him. Each briefing prepared him for a future that required the Queen to be gone, and even imagining that future had felt like betrayal. The monarch had never said those words aloud to his son before. Stripped of ceremony, he finally allowed them to exist. Prince William understood immediately. He confessed that every new folder, private meeting, and added responsibility now felt connected to the possibility of losing his father. He was not rejecting duty. He was grieving before grief had arrived. King Charles placed a hand on his shoulder. The declaration had not been written because he expected to disappear. It had been written because history could move without warning, and he refused to leave Prince William unprotected when it did. The king had mistaken secrecy for strength. The prince had mistaken preparation for farewell. Prince William accepted the expanded duties, but he set one condition. The transition must strengthen King Charles's reign, not create the impression that the sovereign had already been replaced. Every new responsibility would be presented as service to the reigning monarch, not as a silent transfer of loyalty. King Charles agreed. For the first time since the signature, father and son were no longer standing on opposite sides of the document. They were carrying its burden together. The peace lasted only hours. A confidential summary escaped palace control before any joint explanation could be prepared, and Britain awoke to fragments of a decision it did not yet fully understand. Before breakfast, phones lit up across the country. Broadcasters abandoned scheduled programming. Royal correspondents gathered outside palace gates. Britain was told that King Charles had formally prepared Prince William for the next reign, but the deeper meaning remained uncertain. Was this responsible continuity, a hidden warning, or the first unmistakable movement toward a new royal era? A government source confirmed through a documented briefing that Prince William had received expanded constitutional preparation and emergency access. Within minutes, a summary of the Royal Continuity Declaration reached every major newsroom. The source insisted that no transfer of the throne had occurred, but that distinction struggled to survive the force of the headlines. Buckingham Palace responded before speculation could harden into accepted truth. Its statement declared that King Charles remained sovereign and described responsible succession planning as a normal duty of the crown. Yet the careful language failed to calm everyone. To some, the statement sounded reassuring. To others, it sounded like confirmation that the future had moved closer than anyone had acknowledged. A London newsstand captured the national mood. King Charles and Prince William appeared side by side across one front page beneath the headline, "The King prepares his heir." Commuters stopped, photographed it, and argued over what it meant. One man called the signature responsible. A woman beside him asked why such preparation had needed to remain secret. A national television presenter opened a special bulletin with a sentence that spread instantly, "This is not an abdication. But it is the clearest acknowledgement yet that Prince William's future has entered the present." Outside Buckingham Palace, a small crowd gathered. Some spoke with concern for the king, fearing the declaration hinted at pressure hidden behind palace walls. Others applauded the decision, arguing that preparation showed strength rather than weakness. King Charles had wanted stability. The public saw uncertainty. Prince William watched the coverage alongside Catherine and grew increasingly disturbed by suggestions that his father was already stepping aside. Reminded him that denials would only feed the noise. The strongest answer, she said, would be standing beside King Charles and allowing the country to see unity rather than replacement. That afternoon, the palace confirmed a joint appearance by the King and the Prince of Wales. Britain would soon receive the image that determined what the declaration truly meant. When King Charles and Prince William appeared together, there was no abdication, no farewell, and no surrender of the throne. There was something quieter and more powerful: recognition. The king stood beside the man who would one day succeed him, not as a rival or a replacement, but as the continuation of a duty larger than either of them. In that moment, the secret document ceased to represent fear. It became proof that the crown had chosen preparation over denial. King Charles entered the national service in the leading position, but Prince William walked beside him rather than several steps behind. The arrangement carried a clear message. The monarch still held full authority, yet the future king was being prepared openly for the responsibilities ahead. The palace clarified that the declaration had never removed King Charles or secretly transferred power to his son. It allowed Prince William to receive the knowledge, access, and experience needed to prevent uncertainty during a sudden crisis. The crown remained with the king. The preparation belonged to the prince. King Charles paused before they stepped forward and adjusted Prince William's ceremonial insignia, the badges and symbols worn to represent royal position and duty. He looked at his son and said quietly, "You are ready to learn what no one can learn alone." Prince William held his father's gaze and answered, "Then we do it together." Those words changed everything. King Charles no longer treated preparation as an admission of weakness. By trusting his son openly, he strengthened his own reign and released the fear that sharing responsibility would make him appear diminished. The king remained sovereign, but he no longer carried the future as a secret burden. Prince William accepted the truth with equal clarity. Becoming king would always carry sorrow, because succession can never be fully separated from family loss. Yet the prince chose to prepare fully, not because he desired the crown, but because he loved the family and the people he might one day be called to lead. Duty was no longer something being forced upon him. It had become a promise he was choosing to keep. The declaration's true power was now undeniable. It established a clear path from one reign to the next without weakening the present. King Charles's signature was not an ending. It was a father's protection, a sovereign's responsibility, and Prince William's unmistakable first step toward becoming Britain's future king. The monarchy survived because it did not deny that change would come. It met change with honesty, discipline, and trust. The pen had not passed the crown from one man to another. It had ensured that whenever history demanded the transition, father, son, and monarchy would face it, prepared, united, and unbroken. If this story moved you, subscribe now. Royal history is being written, and you should be here when it happens.